Hello, I am Edward Viljoen, and this is From the Center, where we get to talk to regular, ordinary people who are on a spiritual path to discover how being on that spiritual path has helped them navigate through some of the difficult spots in their lives or the joyous spots in their lives now. And with me this morning is somebody that I've known for a very long time and loved for a very long time. Welcome, Lee Boyak.
Thank you.
How long have I known you for, Lee?
I think it's about 13 years.
I think it is. I think it's been a wonderful journey getting to know each other on this during these years. And you have been somebody that I've admired because you really apply what you learn, and you've had life give you a lot of opportunities to practice being a spiritual person. We were talking early on about how you recently moved into retirement, and tell us a little bit about what came up and what were the circumstances.
Okay. I had a job that required a lot of detail around technology, telecommunications technology,
Yes.
which changes constantly.
Very fast-paced.
And the company I worked for was headquartered in Paris, and the job I had required understanding market conditions in the Middle East and in Asia and in Europe.
And you had that the time difference to deal with too.
A very good point.
Yeah.
Because of that time change, you can basically work 24 hours a day.
Yes.
I mean, there's always some market that's open that needs some type of contact and understanding, reviewing the market research, trying to understand how the telecommunications technology will work or sell in that market. I had had this job for about 12 years, and really the advantage I had was the ability to study and understand both the technology as well as the market conditions. At a certain point within the last year, I recognized that I just couldn't do what I used to be able to do. I'm HIV positive, and it turned out that the medications that I'm taking have a lot of side effects.
Yes.
There had been a buildup of the physical side effects for 12 or 14 years, but I got used to them. I just didn't pay much attention to them because they built up slowly and more gradually. When the mental side effects, the inability to focus and remember, started coming on, I really struggled, because without the ability to remember the technology and understanding how it applied in different markets, I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I would study harder, and I would work longer, and I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, panicked about something, and start working, because somewhere there was a market that, as you point out, that was open. The stress of that became so intense, my energy level began to drop. The harder I struggled, the more I got up in the middle of the night, the less energy I had, the less ability I had. Eventually I had to acknowledge that I couldn't do this job.
And a job that was your identity. I mean, after
So
12
much.
years, you start to see yourself sometimes as your role in the world.
Absolutely. And that was probably the biggest problem,
Yeah.
was acknowledging I couldn't do it. Because being gay, I've been able to work in multiple different kinds of jobs, relatively high-level jobs, and I never paid any attention to the fact that I was gay. Being HIV positive, I basically ignored that too. I just kept coping.
Yeah.
So to reach a point where I couldn't cope, and I had to acknowledge I couldn't cope, the advantage of the spirituality, and is I do meditate daily, and I read the mailers that come out and the little booklet that gives you the daily spiritual guides. Those were hugely important in being able to cope through all of those years. One of the things I recognized was I was trying to cope with the job.
Yes.
That I would meditate in order to do the job better. Meditate in order to get things done and to stay up longer and to work harder.
And you can feel the tightness around that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so rather than, letting God do the work, I was trying to focus on the details.
You had an agenda.
Right. This seemed to be, but I was really trying to use the spirituality to do it, and it was helping me get through. But what I really needed to do was look at, okay, Lee, what do you need in your life here?
Yeah.
Is it really about this job? Is keeping the job what you need, or is having a life where your body can recover and where you can have a harmonious relationship with other people, is what is it that you really want? So when I changed what I was meditating and praying for, then the recognition that I just couldn't do the job anymore became easier.
Yeah.
And letting go of that and then advancing into the unknown, what was going to happen financially. This was, it pension programs are gone these days. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just not the kind of financial support there used to be. So
So a whole new bunch of stresses arise.
exactly.
You,
So
you have the moment of revelation and you think everything's going to be fine, but instead now fear comes up.
that's right.
Yeah.
So the exchange of the fear of keeping up with the job
Yeah.
was now the fear of what do I do without the job?
Yeah.
What if I don't have the financial resources I need while my body is deteriorating? What if I don't have health insurance?
Yeah.
What would that do with my relationship?
Yes.
I mean, my partner I know loves me, but I don't want to become both physically incapable and financially incapable of participating in the relationship.
So there's this worst case scenario projection that happens, and there's a fine line between being reasonable with evaluating your
Yes.
options and then going beyond it with all of these frightening scenarios.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And thank God for prayer and meditation. The more that I did that, I went from doing that once a day to doing that twice a day and just focusing on the life that I wanted. Things just started happening, of course, as they always
Yeah.
do. If I just remembered that they do, it would make it easier.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when we are in chaos or frightened, it's very common that we can't remember. Yeah.
And it's interesting because through the years that I have been doing the meditation and the prayer treatments, I recognize that, when you do them and things work, then it's easier to trust that they're going to work. So then you do them and they work, and you do them and they work, and you do them and they work, and it sort of all gets easier.
Yes, it's developing your faith muscle.
Yes.
I'm a great advocate for prayer and meditation when your life is good.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's the time to practice.
That's right.
And often the case people will appear when they are in crisis, in bereavement, and they're devastated by a major event in their life, and that's the moment they want to know what to do,
Right.
how to understand it, and it's the moment when they're least equipped to
Yes.
really get it.
Yes.
So I'm thrilled to hear you say that practice develops the faith muscle, so as life unfolds, you have something to rest on. Because it's nothing like resting on your own proven experience. It's really, it's a little further for a third party to tell you it's going to be okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really, faith really comes into it because once you just have that belief, it's going to work. It's going to work out. Things are going to be okay. But it is like letting go and jumping off and saying, I trust there's water in the pool, or there will be. I don't see any water in the pool. It looks like I'm going to hurt myself, but you get used to it and you trust.
That phrase, letting go, I just heard somebody speaking and offering another angle, and she said, let it be. And I found that was very helpful for me because letting go, I noticed I couldn't always let go of some thoughts because they would follow me.
Yes.
Or I would follow them.
Yes.
But I learned to let them be, and in doing so, I noticed there were other things present at the same time, like the vision you have of the life you want to live.
Right.
It's also there in you. It never went away.
Right. And changing the focus
Yeah.
to be what really was it I was looking for, rather than thinking it had to be the job that would give me these things. Then miracles started to happen.
Yeah.
Turned out that I had a disability policy I had forgotten about.
Yeah.
So financially, things worked out. Then I met a physical therapist that helped deal with the muscle atrophy and the fat lipodystrophy. So doors just started opening once I'd let go of how I thought it should look, and just like you're saying, let it be. And now things are fine.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more relaxed. I'm not getting up at 2 o'clock
Yeah.
in the morning worried about things. It really has been such a transformation.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you said that about letting it be, accepting things.
Yes.
Accepting that, okay, I can't do all those things I used to do, but that doesn't mean that the quality of my life
Yes.
can't be as good, if not better than it was. It's just letting go and letting be
Right.
what I think of
That
myself.
moment when you notice I can't do all of that, and then what I tell myself it means, that's the
Yes,
moment. If I tell myself it means something dark, I can easily follow that. And in the meantime, I have some flexibility in what's going on inside at any moment. It's such a miracle the way the mind works. And sometimes people say, oh, you're just being Pollyanna or you're just being positive thinking. And I say to them, we're not just being in denial of the world. I mean, how do you live with everything that's going on in your life and just deny it? You can't. It's disastrous to do it. No, you're actually living with it and meeting it with your spiritual practice. It's
yes,
very empowering.
yes, and exactly the way you hold it. There was something in this week's reading about it's all just the perception. It, not, and when I look at the way my life is now and the things that are going on for me, I could be upset.
Yeah,
I could go back into fear. I could go back into worry. I mean, nothing has changed physically. I have
yeah,
the same problems. But I'm not feeling that way. I'm
right.
feeling so incredibly grateful
Yeah,
for the life that I have. I mean, it it's really about the perception.
right. And we're no strangers to fear and shock. They still come.
Right.
And now when they come, I notice for me the recovery period is a little quicker
Yes.
most of the time.
Yes.
Just it depends which button is being pushed.
Yes. And again, as you said, building the muscle, it's like having that faith and that trust that'll happen. There's still times where, I'll hear about people that have had diseases and cured themselves,
Yeah,
um, and feel a little bit like I should be able to do that.
yeah, that's a good one.
What is failing in me that I'm still HIV positive?
Right.
Shouldn't, if people can cure themselves of cancer,
Yes.
why can't I just become HIV negative?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem possible, and yet curing yourself of cancer doesn't seem possible either. So there's still that sense that I should be further
Yes.
spiritually and have greater capabilities than I do, even though I have an enormous amount of confidence
Yeah.
that things will work out through my meditation and my prayer treatments. I feel like I'm, a B-minus student.
Well, that is so interesting because uh, our founder was asked why he was wearing glasses to correct his vision, because the implication was he was a B-minus student.
Sure.
And he said very frankly, he said, well, because I can't see a darn thing without them. And it's that matter-of-fact approach to what is, and with a certain humility. I also think of some of the great spiritual role models in the stories and histories of our religious world, like Jesus of Nazareth. What are we going to say to him? If you're a B-minus student, things didn't go too well for you. There's something mixed up in that thinking, or there are many great spiritual stories where the heroes are slain or poisoned or
Yes.
betrayed, and to me, it's a story of hope that, I don't know what can and can't be cured. And I hear things that boggle the mind, but I'm wearing glasses too.
Yes. And there is a little bit almost of accepting that I can't. I might not be able to become
Yeah.
HIV negative. I might not get to that point. But the excitement about what's going to unfold.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I've made this transition and things turned out okay. It could be tremendous what happens next.
Yeah. Well, and to me, you're putting your attention and energy in the right place.
Mhm.
And who knows what you will build up. Like you said, you didn't know you had the policy. This opened up,
Right.
meetings appear. And that's what I'm interested in, is that when my mind is narrowly focused on the worst. This is From the Center, and I am Edward Viljoen, and I'm so glad you joined us, and I hope you'll join us for the next episode. Goodbye.